Hi guys, welcome back to Taylor Talks Trades. This week we're with Peter Archibald from Haldane Construction. He's telling us how he took over the business in very tragic circumstances from the previous owner, who was his mentor, and the importance of that mentorship, that he's now using that experience to build the future generation. I hope you enjoy. Morning Peter.
Morning Jamie.
Welcome to Taylor Talks Trades.
Thanks for having me here.
I'll start where I always start, mate. How did you get into the trades then?
So I left school halfway through 6 years, so I would have been 17 then, and fell into a couple of jobs, chicken farms, farms, all these kind of things, just doing random stuff. And then kind of fell into construction and site labouring.
Right.
Which at that time, back in, what would that be? About 2000. Yeah, it was pretty rough being a labourer on site, I'll be honest with you. You got the bottom of the bottom jobs to do. But I learned a lot from that.
Yep.
Worked with a lot of different sort of subcontract companies at the time, doing all sorts, from sweeping up to cleaning the toilets to a bit of everything.
Yeah.
So that's kind of where I started.
Is this like a proper building site kind of idea? So
yeah, so it was for a lot of the bigger companies.
Yeah.
So like
plenty going on, all different trades, and you just help who needs help at that
so this
time
was on
like
big sort of infrastructure type projects and stuff like that. So kind of started out there, and I got a good basis. But as a labourer, you were, as I say, not treated that, especially back then.
Yeah.
And I always kind of, I was like, I could do a bit better than this, you know. And I always looked at the machine operators, the digger drivers, and thought like they were like the kings of the sites, because they're sat in there when we're all out in the pissing rain. They're sat in there with their t-shirts on and all the rest of the heaters on. And I was like, you know, I want a bit of that. So what I done, one of the jobs I was on, I spoke to the site agent and says, look, is there any chance I could jump on the mini digger to learn it?
Yep.
You know, at lunchtime or a few hours after work and that. He was like, anybody just didn't break anything. Yeah. So that's what I'd done for maybe 2 or 3 months. I would stay on at night, learn the digger while usually the site shut at say 4:30, but the manager would stay on for an hour or two sorting out whatever he was doing. Yep. So I would stay on and learn it. And then I passed my excavator test. I think it was the day after I turned 21. And then I went into plant hire, which was great. Loved that. Although the first 3 years were really quite challenging because I was very young at that stage.
Yep.
And inexperienced. And in plant hire, you're punted from site to site to site. The guy I worked for, Don Clark, he was fantastic and really gave me a chance though, because there was sometimes he would get a phone call for the site agents or whoever saying, look, you need to get this boy off this site. He's just went through this cable or whatever it was I've done. And he was like, no, look, give him a chance. He's just learning it. And fair play to Don, because he actually, I'm pretty sure he said to him, look, I'll give you the machine, the driver at a lower rate. Yeah. Just keep him there.
Right.
And it took a while to build my confidence in the machines. It took 3 years, but after 3 years, something just clicked.
It can be a volatile place, a site, eh? Quite demanding. Tradesmen, everybody believes that you should be there first, especially if these guys are on a price. Because they're like, you might be the thing that's stopping them earning their money. Correct. You've seen it like with the roofing side of things on sites. It's like, if the forklift driver doesn't come over and get your tiles on the roof, then you're not making the wages you want to make that week.
Correct.
So, there's a lot of pressure there.
It's difficult. It's difficult.
Especially
in that,
quite young as well.
Exactly, and in that kind of industry, and that, because that was the more bigger side of building stuff, it was difficult to be able to get that time to learn. There was no time to learn.
Yeah.
So that was.
It's quite similar now, I would say as well. Like, you know, it's. Things are like, there's more and more pressure, cost of living crises coming in, materials going through the roof and stuff. It's like business owners in general are just trying to survive. So sometimes trying to teach the next generation is like, as much as we all want to do it, it's very, very difficult.
Yep. Yeah.
Where did you go for there?
Done the plant hire for up until about 2009, and I actually got my own mini digger.
Brilliant.
And started doing homers.
Nice.
as you do, kind of these things. So I started doing like landscaping and stuff like that. And then usual scenario, you started making decent money doing homers.
Better money on the homers than you
And
make
then
through
you
the
thought,
week.
oh, that's the way to go. So I left, and it was a good company I was working for at the time. I left 2009, just at the recession.
Yep.
Thought I'll go and
Perfect
do it on my
timing.
own. So I started on my own, doing bits and pieces, started to get a bit of work in, and then started to employ people very naively, without really understanding
How?
how.
Yep.
Brought them in on PAYE as well. We probably should have brought them in self-employed.
Yeah.
So there was that.
Where did that come from? So how did you go from like plant hire to then like actually going and buying your own mini digger and doing homers is quite a big step, but then employing people as well is like and kind of going out on your own, that's quite a big step. Like, where does that stem from?
I'm not sure. To be honest, I'm not too sure. I think it was probably a drive to make money.
Yep.
I think ultimately for my family, because we were trying to renovate a house at the same time as well, which is a whole other story. Still trying to renovate that house 20 years on. So yeah, I think it was a drive to try and make more money and just try and support them as best as I could.
So I was I done an interview recently with someone, and they were asking the same question to me about how I started up on my own, and I think it was the same for me at that time. And the way I'd basically explained it was, as an employee, you're 9 times out of 10 you're going to work 40 hours a week.
Yep.
For a set amount of pay. You might get some overtime and you might be able to work weekends, but it's not always guaranteed. So you've sort of got that 40 hours
Yes,
is what
correct.
you can base it on.
Yeah.
When you start maybe doing some homers here and there, and that's like now you're working 7 days, you might do a Saturday, Sunday on your own, you maybe make the wage that weekend that you made for the full week.
Correct. Yeah.
So you start to get a wee bit of a taste for, oh my God, it must be easy then. And the way I kind of went was like, because I was working 7 days in order to kind of provide for my family. And then what happened was I was like, right, well, my goal will be to go out and start on my own and make what I make in 7 days in 5 days. This should be easy because I'm usually doing that in 2. And then obviously all the other problems come from there, where it's, how am I going to get through this work? I need to employ people. Oh, no, I've employed people. How do I keep the work coming in? I need to learn marketing and all different stuff. And you get a bit of a wake-up call.
I got a huge wake-up call because it didn't work out.
Yep.
I've never really shared this actually, probably until now, but we lost our car. Our car got repossessed.
Oh, really?
We had the bailiffs at our house ready to repossess the house. That's how bad it got. And I think that was probably the naivety from myself, thinking that you can just go for
just start a company.
Just start a company, and probably went in too quick, too fast, employing people without being quick. Set up and thinking there's, guy running a business now and all this, that kind of ego type
bit
stuff.
Of ego there, and it's easy to fall into that trap though, because you don't know what you don't know.
You don't.
So the reality is, like, you only knew when you knew.
You only knew when you knew. Yeah.
Because then you get that chap at the door or whatever, and it's like, obviously the way I was doing that then was wrong. But when you're not taking these people on, going, I don't care what happens, and who cares if this goes wrong. It is just like you said. It's naivety, probably.
It is,
and also probably being quite positive and optimistic, backfiring in a way. You're like, I'll make it work. Yeah. And sometimes we do, and other times we don't.
There's so many external factors that put play to it actually working. You can be as positive and optimistic as you want to be, but sometimes it's the others and other things round about you, whether it's clients, employees, which don't quite see it the same as you. Sometimes, you have those issues. Yeah.
So where did things go from there then? So that kind of took a bit of kind of sour turn and didn't work out.
So that didn't work out.
How did you rebuild?
So I'd been doing work with Haldane Construction at that time. So subcontracting work with the mini digger and landscaping and stuff like that. So I'd built up a relationship with Andrew Haldane, who I knew previously when I was on the plant hire.
Right.
So that's like we'd
cut
met,
a few cables on the sides.
cut a few cables. So we'd met previously. And at that time, which was sort of 2010, 11, I think it would be, he had previously been a site agent, site manager for quite a lot of the bigger companies, Mace, Ogilvy, and some of these ones. And he actually got made redundant in 2009. But he'd already had the company Haldane Construction set up. So it was founded in 2003.
Right.
But he'd never actually done anything with it.
It was sitting dormant.
It was sitting dormant. So it wasn't until 2009, 10 that he actually started to get it going. So he was on the lookout for somebody to help out with the groundworks and so forth. And it was small jobs. It was just, extensions and bits and pieces like that. So we got back in touch with each other, and I was doing work for him. And I says to him the situation that I was in, and he was like, "Look, I can help you out here, not financially, but he says, look, why don't you just come and work for me? Forget about all the other clients and stuff you're doing. Just come and work for me, and we'll kind of not do it together, because it was his business and he was running it. But I would look after."
Just give you a bit of security again, and almost a bit of comfort blanket to just kind of ease yourself back into it.
Exactly, and he actually brought on, I was down to 2 employees at that time, he brought them on as well. And thinking back, he didn't need to do that. Yeah. Do you know what I mean? But whether he saw something in me at that time to take a punt on it, I don't know. So that's where it kind of went from me had my own, well, it wasn't a business as such, but, working for myself, working to other clients and bits and pieces. I was then just subcontracting to Haldane Construction at that time. And then that relationship grew over the years. I was still self-employed then. It was in 2013. He says, look, why don't you come on board as PAYE? Now at that time there was about four people working for the company. Yeah. But they were all CIS. Okay. And that's the way he ran the company. Everyone was CIS. There was no one on the books.
Nobody on the books as such.
He ran it more as like a management company, if that makes sense.
Yeah, makes sense.
But he
was sort of project management, and all the other trades just kind of came in, but he didn't have the commitment to find the work for him all the time. And it's a lot of business, like my business started that way. Like we had a handful of roofers that were sort of self-employed, but under my kind of company brand. I was still I was a sole trader at the time. Yeah. That was from sort of 2013 up until 2017. We made the company like a limited company and went VAT registered and sort of moved things more into like a business. But I think a lot of companies start there, where it's they're not quite committed to having like 6 full-time staff or something, but 6 guys around you that. And when I had these guys, like I would probably keep them going. Sometimes we maybe wouldn't always have the work, but like my dad had a concrete pouring business, so he would pour the concrete floors and finish them. So sometimes like I'd be like, guys, I've not got roofing, but like let's go. We'll just finish some floors and for my dad, and we'd do things like that. Or I'd have them painting the shed, or like I'd always try and, although I didn't have to, I always made it my duty to make sure that they had like a 40-hour week. Even if I wasn't getting sort of paid for that, I'd get them, like I wanted to hold on to them, but I didn't quite have them through the book shit, and I probably just didn't really know how to. And sometimes even as well, when they would go off, I'd like give them a bit of holiday pay and stuff like that, and like, or I would just give them a bit extra in their wages, and I'd be like, look, that's your holiday pay sort of thing.
Because you knew that, I guess you knew you needed them, so you were trying to retain them and keep them happy, I guess, to make sure.
That's it. So that they didn't go, because I knew myself, it was like, the more I get into it, the more I understand how to properly take them on and how you do that. Like, it's just, you just don't know what you don't know. I think we've already said earlier.
And I think that's where I went wrong when I kind of started up the sort of mini business, as it were, rather than doing it the way that you done it, the way Andrew done it. I done the opposite way.
You just
and found out the hard way.
Dived in head first.
So 2013, we had the meeting together, and he says, "Look, I'd like you to come on board." And he actually at that time he made me director as well.
You're right, okay.
Which I never really understood why.
Yeah.
I understand why now, because he had a bit of a pathway for me, a succession route, which I didn't know about back then, and I didn't know anything about directorships anyway.
So did he just kind of say, "Look, I'm making you a director"?
Aye, but
and that
was that was
and you were just like, right, that's fine.
Aye, that's fine. Aye, well, that sounds great.
I'm a director. Didn't even know what it means.
No idea what it means.
Brilliant.
No idea.
Do you think that was maybe possibly someone who's been out there doing their own thing, self-employed, like you said, maybe a wee bit of ego and things like that? He might have been thinking, this guy's not just going to come and take a job, but maybe that wee bit of title of director just maybe they thought maybe we'd have glamorised it for you, although you were just probably going and working as an employee at that point, as far as you were aware. But maybe you had a wee bit of that going on.
I think there probably was,
because there is status is a big thing in our society, and especially in construction. A lot of guys care about the title. Like,
you want the title.
You know, whether that's contracts manager or construction manager or commercial director, whatever this may be, that's important to people.
Yeah, it is important. They want that kind of stature, and I've been like that myself, looking for that stature and all these things. But then once you, especially as a business owner,
that's not a real director. That's just
I don't want this.
Mr. Do-it-all.
I don't want this. I'm quite happy just sit in the background and let someone else
somebody please employ me.
Be the sort of face of it. It's that as time goes on, the more experience that, if you want to call it, ego of that status, then
when you become a real director, you realise it's real risk.
Aye.
Like, probably in fairness, at that point when Andrew's made you director, that's not a direct, there was probably zero risk. But when you take on a real director role and you're say a shareholder or whatever, there's no guarantees anymore.
No.
Do you know, there's no, directors, depending on how the company's set up, they don't tend to really get a salary. It's you'll probably get your minimum amount or whatever a salary, then it's you'll have access to a dividend if the company makes profit, and if it does well. If it doesn't do well, you can't take that money. It's no there. And I know there's people that will probably take the money out and then try and pay the director's loan back later on and stuff, but that's probably poor business practice. But there is a lot of risk. There's just no guarantees for directors or business owners.
And that's something that I've found when I've now eventually taken over the business. It's the risk. Because you don't know. No one really shares what that
Let's get into that then. So 2013 to... So you were employed, and then the journey was moving. Was there much in the way the succession plan unfolding at that point? You said that Andrew had a succession plan.
Yeah, so there was to a degree, although I was sort of pushing, I was kind of, and he did say this to me no long before he actually sadly passed away.
Yeah.
He says, probably if it wasn't for you pushing to not want more, but be better and kind of grow myself, because as I pushed and grew, the business had to grow to accommodate me, which sounds a bit big-headed, but that
makes sense. It's in order for you to get to where you wanted to be, the business had to kind of grow around you in order to allow those steps to happen.
Exactly. So from sort of 2013 up to 2020, I went from sort of doing the groundworks and stuff to then I've learned a lot about, we were mainly sort of building one-off houses and extensions and stuff. And because I've been renovating my own house, I've learned hundreds about all aspects. And I was really into learning about all aspects of building. Even though I was doing the groundworks and the plant stuff, I was really interested in electrics, the joinery, the plumbing. And I'm quite hands-on myself. And a lot of the times I'd be maybe taking on, just say the plumber was, it was a bit, I'd jump in and do these things.
And learn it.
Aye, I loved that. I really loved that.
Learn is actually doing.
Correct. I really, really enjoyed that side of stuff. And that put in, I wanted to elevate myself a little bit as well in terms of my career. So I went through the supervisor training course with the company, and then moved up to doing the management one.
Yep.
So that was all the SVQ qualifications that we'd done. And Andrew had previously done them himself, so he kind of knew what they were.
That's good.
So that, as I grew, the business grew, the guys that were self-employed within the business, they came in and became PAYE.
Yeah. Good security for them then as well.
It was, and I think that was, I mean, they didn't change to PAYE till I think probably 2016 or 2017. And that's when the business really started to, I think Andrew realised, like, this, we need, because of the size of the business it was getting, I mean, it wasn't huge, but he needed a core team. Yeah. More reliable guys there.
And was that must have been quite a big step for him then, because he'd been so used to doing it the other way for so long. Did he just think we need to have like that?
I think so, and I think some of the guys were starting to, ask questions and stuff like we want to, because we were all, so there was myself, there was Alan Lake and Rafi Peaton, and it was really the three of us and Andrew that was doing the work. Well, I had our subcontractors and that. But yeah, Alan and Rafi, they'd done a lot for the business as well, so they had a lot of loyalty and they wanted to help the business, and so they wanted to come into the business in a proper employee way. The business so COVID came. So pre-pandemic, the business was the biggest it's been. In recollection, we had 13 or 14 employees full time.
Quite a bit actually for the type of model, like the construction company that it is as well. Because it relies on a lot of subcontractors as well. So like if you had 14 on the books, then that's like that's quite a lot when you take the subbies, probably external subbies. The external subbies as well, So that's a lot of people.
So I did myself, obviously, joiners, supervisors, bricklayers, groundworks, and apprentices. So it became quite a big animal, as it were, and my role in the company at that time was sort of site manager, although managing multiple different projects. So whether you would call that operations manager, whatever you want to call it, was kind of looking after the day-to-day stuff on the construction sites, and still a bit hands-on myself on the tools.
Jumping in when you had to.
Jumping in when you had to.
It's hard not to when you know the skills.
Exactly, and you just got to get on. So I was still jumping about on the diggers and all that kind of stuff.
Had that conversation with people in the past, sometimes saying, it'd be easier if you didn't know the trade. Because then you would be able to step away and actually, because when you go through that journey of, you're a guy who's on the tools, you've learnt a trade, but now you want to be a business owner, that is a big leap, like it's a big jump to then hold yourself back for going, I'll just go and do that roof because we'll make more money this week because I'll get it done faster, or I'll just go and dig that foundation out because I'm the best on the mini digger, or whatever the trade is. So I have had that conversation with business owners in the past where they've said, if you were in construction, so you know it, but you actually couldn't jump in and do it, you'd be able to manage that better. So it's a real, there's a real part of untraining yourself to just jump in and then become an observer of what's actually happening. It's really difficult, but
yeah, it is difficult. I mean, yesterday I was out building a set of steps, and amongst email and all that, and it's like, oh my god.
Sometimes that's just,
but sometimes you just got to, because with guys on holiday and guys
there's
off,
times when these things happen, and it would be absolutely crazy not to get involved.
No,
you can't really let customers down or do it to the detriment. But there is a point in time where you get to a stage where you go, like for me, it's probably been maybe 5+ years or whatever. Like I've not been on a roof really on the tools. So like I'm quite privileged in that sense, but that's actually took a lot of willpower and a lot of training to be like, put all the different people in place to make sure that day-to-day can run
trust.
and put that trust out there. And when guys get things wrong, like we need to replace the job. Like, and like, I'm not going to lie and say it's never happened. Like, we've given guys an opportunity, much like you were saying that the plant hire guy was giving you the chance and you were maybe going and doing something on site and the guy was wanting to throw you off site. Like, we've had that where our guys do that, and we speak to the customer and say, look, we're bringing the next generation through and nobody else is really trying to do it. Yep. So you've got to have a wee bit of leeway, whereas we want to bring these guys through. Like, how are they going to learn if we don't give them the opportunity to learn?
Yep.
And I think all the construction at the moment is in that similar boat where the guys need the experience, on-site experience. They've got to be
100%.
Sometimes in at the deep end a wee bit. And although we'd all love to have them mentored by someone who's a great tradesman for like 6-7 years, then allow them to do something, the reality is those guys aren't always there.
They're not there.
And that time just isn't always there. So,
yeah, absolutely.
It makes a lot of sense.
The biggest the company had been 13, 14 employees. I think we had 6 or 7 sites, projects on the go from, I think at that time we had 3 or 4 new build houses, all different places, all bespoke houses, extensions and bits and pieces. So yeah, lockdown came, so we shut down completely, and then we came back to life in May. I think it would be May 2020. That'd be right.
May or June probably.
Yeah, I probably end of May, maybe just
to wake back up a wee bit, and it's like you can go back to work.
Yeah, I think it was probably the end of May actually. So we got going again, all fine, and then Andrew called me round to his house for a catch up. Said so, which wasn't out of the norm. So I went round and he told me the devastating news that he'd been diagnosed with pancreatic cancer. And he was told at that point that he would get up till Christmas. That was it. So that, yeah, I mean, I couldn't believe what I was hearing. It was absolutely devastating because, you know, Andrew had become like a father figure to me.
Yeah.
And certainly in terms of business and construction and that side of my life. A
real mentor.
He was, and he was mentoring me without me realising he was mentoring me, which is quite a, you know,
a skill in itself.
It's absolutely. And as I say, he'd helped me out of some sticky situations as well. Yeah, so that was horrendous, hearing that news. It took a long while to sink in.
Digest that.
And after him telling me that, one of the first things, because he was very focused on the business, one of the first things he said to me is like, you know, the business, do you want to take it over? And I'm like, holy shit, Andrew, you've just told me you're dying and you're asking me if I'm like it was...
That's a bit car crash.
I was like, oh my. I thought I was just going to see him for a catch up, talk about some work or whatever it was, and this, I didn't expect that.
I might go in here and get a wee pay rise or something.
Exactly, and I was like, oh my God. So I says, look, Dad, Dad need to digest all this. And he's like, oh, obviously. But he was still really, even though, this is just Andrew, even though he knew he was dying, and he was still positive. Obviously, he would have been feeling it inside, but from the outside, he was still passionate and want to drive things forward and make sure everyone else was okay.
Brilliant.
So yeah, I went away and had a thought about it. I had a lot of tears, as you could imagine. Very emotional. And I did have a think about it, and I always, there was, Andrew kind of indicated all the way through my time working with him that I would perhaps take over the business in some way in the future, and he would, because he was 52 at that time, 53,
a young man.
Young eye, and that he would semi-retire. He would never fully retire because he was pretty. He was just that kind of. He was that kind of way.
Typical business owner.
He was that kind of way. Not in a bad way, but he was. He liked to.
It consumes you. It becomes full life.
He liked to be, because he was part of everything, because he wore so many hats, and because he was, looking after us all. He was the buyer. He was the estimator. He done everything.
Yeah.
He wasn't always one for delegating stuff. When he did, it took a long time to build trust to delegate.
Yeah.
Anyway, so I went back and had a think, and I was like, I would love to, but how do you start with that?
How?
And how? And I spoke to my wife, Marie, about it as well, obviously. And she's like, well, look, it's up to you, like, if you want to do it, like, because again, naivety as well, because you just don't.
When you say do what you want, it means do not do it.
Nah, well, what I went back to Andrew, obviously, and I says, look, I said, I would like to take it over. I said, but if I am taking over, I'll be taking over with my wife, Marie, because I knew it would be such an undertaking. I didn't realise how much an undertaking, but I knew how consuming even the job that I'd been doing was, never mind try to run the business. And I didn't think it would be fair on Marie or my family for me to try and undertake that myself. So I said, look, if I'm taking over, then she would be brought in and we would work together to do it. So that's kind of what was discussed, but and there was going to be a bit of a plan put in place of how things were going to work, and Andrew obviously had a lot of stuff to sort out and bits and pieces, so there'd be a proper
handover as such.
Handover, because he thought, he had a few months still to live to try and sort out his, not just the business stuff, but family stuff for him as well. But he only got 4 weeks. So from the end of July when he got diagnosed, he was away by the end of June when he was diagnosed, he was away by the end of July. And that was, it just happened so quick. I think on the Thursday I'd met him at the accountants for a chat and stuff, and he was relatively okay. He was on medication and stuff at that time, but he was relatively okay. He went in for chemo to try and prolong, to help him a wee bit. He went in for chemo on, I think it was the Friday, and he took a bad reaction to that. And then he was in hospital, and I went in to see him, I think it was maybe the Monday, I can't quite remember, it was all a bit of a blur. I think it was maybe the Monday. He was in at Strathcarn Hospice. He'd got moved to there, went in to see him, and it was still Andrew, but it wasn't Andrew, if you know what I mean. It was really difficult to see him, for being such a strong person, and seeing him the way he was hard, really hard. And he actually passed away. He passed away that night.
That's terrible.
So, So that was, it was horrendous for everyone involved. It was obviously for...
Fair play to you for picking up the reins and managing to go on after that.
I was
people say business is hard, them circumstances, that's
it was. Serious, I keep using the word horrendous, but it was horrendous. It was absolutely horrendous,
to be honest.
Because it wasn't just when you lose someone close to you, you obviously, it's hard and the emotions and all the rest of it, but you typically have your work to take you away from that.
Take the mind off it, but that was all wrapped into one.
Everything's wrapped into one.
How have you done it then? Because you're the guy, you're sat there and
good question. I look back now and I think, how have I done it? And I'm I don't know. It's just been.
There must be something inside you that's driven you, and maybe it's been that mentorship that he gave you, and it was almost a.
I think it was. I mean, he was mentoring me without me really realising it, and we used to have spats now and again, and we would fall out. I would not fall out, but we'd have And like he'd be going off his head with me on the phone, and I would hang up on him, and I hated that. I absolutely hated that. He'd be writing the phone again. What's going on? Honestly, it was mental sometimes, but it was But he was doing it for a reason.
Yeah, absolutely.
It wasn't a bad thing. He was doing it for a reason to build me.
Yeah.
And a few things he said to me before he actually passed away and stuff. He says, "Peter, you need to puff your chest out sometimes and just
toughen up a wee bit.
Toughen up.
Yep.
You need to toughen up, because I probably was a wee bit like kind of typical employee. Oh, I'm doing all this and I'm not getting the rewards for it, and then you know, all that kind of stuff, and I'm sacrificing this, and there was some sacrifice, but he was like, you need to toughen up a bit. You're going on, and so. So he was toughening me up in some ways previously.
I didn't think you could get any more like a toughening up apprenticeship than the one that he gave you.
No, I know.
With just the circumstances and all like that. But
exactly,
I think like I'm quite big on like, what if, like I always think of this saying, like, what if the worst thing that ever happened to you was the best thing that ever happened to you? And it's not always easy to see that when somebody's so close to you, something like that's happened. But you can only imagine where you can go to be. That moment in time is always going to be, maybe I'm doing this for Andrew, or I would never have done this if this didn't happen to Andrew. Do you know, sometimes that could be the thing that gets you through. Sometimes you've got to just, because business is tough, as you well know, especially in them circumstances, but sometimes you just, like, you need to look quite deep inside and you go, give me an answer to keep going, because this is madness that I'm doing this. And then that's maybe it for you.
Yeah, I think the thing that sort of drove me was about keeping the legacy going. That was really the driver. Yeah. And I knew that Andrew wouldn't want the business to fail, and he wouldn't want the clients to be let down.
Yeah.
And I think that, and the team as well. And I think that was the sort of driver for me. Obviously, you know, he passed away. I think we maybe took the next day off or something. It was such a blur at that point. But then we were like, I had to gather the guys up and like, I was trying to keep them updated on what was going on as well, to keep them involved, and so they kind of knew what was going on, which was tough for me as well, because obviously I was going through this, and I'm having to kind of step up to.
Yeah, that's a lot.
Do this, and the clients, and because they were like, oh, right, you know, what happens now? Is our job going to get finished? Or like, what? Yeah. And the guys, do we still have a job? And the only thing I knew what to do is just do what I'd been kind of doing.
Keep going.
And just keep going.
Let's learn again.
And just keep going. And I said that to Marie, my wife. I was like, we just need to, I don't know what else to do. I actually don't know what else to do.
Let's just keep moving forward.
Let's just, just do it, and we did.
So everybody kept their jobs, clients' jobs got done.
Yeah, so I sort of officially, as it were, took over in the beginning of August. So between August and Christmas was just an absolute roller coaster of emotions. The guys in the team were all fantastic and great. The clients, a lot of them were good, but there was some quite difficult. They didn't, the sort of empathy or anything lasted maybe about a month. And
then it just became, this is just our job.
Yeah, and then they didn't realise the magnitude of what had happened, I think.
Yeah. Maybe if they hadn't maybe seen Andrew as much and stuff like that possibly as well, like they were maybe thinking like, was he that actually involved? I don't know.
And that's what sometimes happens, and I can.
Do you know what it's like? See, when you're getting something done in your house, like you hate everybody. Like you just get to a point where you're like, I need you out of here. Do you know? It all starts with there's some teas and coffee, and there's some biscuits. Then it's like, when he's leaving, guys.
When he's leaving,
do you know? And like we're thankfully in the roofing and the solar business that we're in, it's almost like external, so it's not quite as bad, but like when you're going in and you're ripping somebody's house to bits, or you know, you're taking walls down, and it can be tough. So I understand that a bit, but I just hope that people would just be a bit more human in a sense.
Exactly, and I think at that time I took it all personally.
Oh, you would?
100% personally.
That's natural, because you were like probably not even properly grieving. Do you know?
No,
you probably
no,
didn't get a chance to grieve because you just had to get on with it. So,
yeah, absolutely.
So you were probably like, that would have been something I would have took that personally as well.
It really
I think
was
most
personal.
would have, because it's like, you probably just felt like saying, I'll just no do your job. We'll just cancel it. Like, you for real? Like, you just lose somebody. There's a lot more, in your eyes and everybody involved, there's a lot more, there's a lot more to life than a job. There's just actually somebody's life, so that was going to always
exactly.
be the most important thing. But fair play though for grinding through and getting it done.
It taught me that period taught me a lot about people.
Yeah.
So previously, when I was obviously doing jobs and on site and on the tools and that, you had good relationships with clients, and they didn't always have the I don't know, it's hard to explain, but when you're the guys on site, the clients generally love you. But if you're the boss or the guy behind the scenes that's saying, you're not getting that, or this is going to cost, and just and like, where's our money, and you know, all these kind of things. Clients, I'm okay with clients and that, right enough, but there is a difference.
Oh, absolutely.
There is a difference there, and previously I thought generally all clients were great, but then I quickly realised that and most clients, there was the majority of them, I have to say the majority of them were fantastic.
Generally are quite difficult. Like I said, you're getting work done in your house. It's difficult. It's not going to go smooth, and I think that's the problem. Like, people who's not in construction assume it should just all go straight forward, and it's impossible.
Oh God!
Guys could not turn up for their work for whatever reason on a set day. This might even be the most reliable guy you've ever had, and he might just not turn in one day. Something might be ill, something might happen. That has an effect. Materials might not show. A skip might not show up.
Yep.
A delivery, a machine might not show up. A mistake could happen. It's all humans. There's human error. Something could be, the wrong thing could be ordered. Like, there's literally, you could write a scroll on all the things that could possibly happen. This isn't like one morning. And if this is like a 6 week job or a 6 month job, you're now looking at like probably like over 1,000 things that could actually happen to make this no go smooth. It's like, let's just agree that this isn't going to go smooth. Yep. But when we have wee hiccups, we're going to be there and we're going to work alongside you, and we'll make sure that it can be as smooth as possible. And I think that comes down to a lot to do with like how you present yourself as a company and how you sell the jobs to the customer as well. We've tried to get better at selling it, saying there will be problems, but we'll show up. When the problems are there, we'll be there. Like, we'll get you all the way through it, because there will be problems. Things will go wrong. It's just a numbers game, and that's naturally one in every so many jobs. Something will happen, but we'll be there. We'll rectify it. We'll fix it. Like, where a lot of companies get it wrong is something goes wrong and they bail.
Yes.
And they get out of there, and that's the ones that, like, so when a client's doing their due diligence at the start, they should be looking at, what does this company do when it goes wrong? And I think that's a much better way to look at it, because it's going to go wrong. Like,
it's going to go wrong, and it's just being open and transparent with clients.
Whereas certain people maybe selling jobs might say, look, this will be perfect, that'll be perfect, it'll all be plain sailing. It's like, that puts a lot of pressure on like when the jobs are getting done. So it's sometimes better to be realistic.
You just need to be realistic. I mean, we put for all our jobs, pretty much, unless it's a really small one, I'll put together a programme of works for it, which is a kind of roadmap almost. Mm-hmm. And usually within the first week it's been updated.
It's getting ripped up.
But it just gives them a bit of clarity and a bit of something, because the clients need that. They need to see. They need. And then I'll do a contractors report every month, which ties in with our progress meeting. So that gives a brief of where the project is, any difficulties and delays and all these kind of things. It's transparency and being
just, if you include the customer in it, they can see the weather's held you up if you're just transparent with them and saying, look, this is actually what's happening here, and by the way, this is what, and if you can show it to them in such a way that this is impossible for us to do anything about this, then they will be okay with you. It's when you don't communicate, when you don't tell them. And then sometimes that comes from the busyness of having, if you've got 6-7 projects on, it is hard to sometimes then get round them all. But I'd like to touch a wee bit on, that must have been amazing having someone like Andrew who just believed in you. Because I think that, like, I'm maybe speaking biased because, like, we are men, but men look for a father figure or look for somebody who just has a wee bit of, like, sees something in you and goes, you can do this, and kind of puts you on that path. And I think we've all probably had mentors at one point or another in our life, whether we know it or not, like you were saying, you maybe didn't know how much you were being mentored. How much is that having an impact now? Because I know you're big on apprenticeships. You've got a lot of apprentices that you've either adopted or you're taking on, or they've maybe been going to lose their job and you've saved their job, different things. Like, how much has that impacted you now, trying to give that back in some ways?
Yeah, so I think it's about just giving them a chance, just giving people a chance.
Yeah.
Because it is tough out there. It's tough out there in the real world, and it's tough getting that chance. And I think when you've been given the chance or chances, it would be so wrong not to do that for others.
Absolutely.
So yeah, that's we've and before I took over the business, we had apprentices as well. But since I've took over, we've pushed on the apprentice side of stuff hugely. And as you say, we've adopted apprentices, ones that have been with employers and it's not been working out for whatever reason that may be, and they've been the apprentice has been close to giving up in the apprenticeship. That's how bad it's. So
that's the stories I love, when people have kept somebody in the trade when they could have left. Because ultimately our goal probably now, like, we've got our businesses and they've got good foundations and they'll tick along, but like I think as employers, like we owe it to the industry to make sure that there's people coming through and that there'll be an industry there later on when we leave. So like I've started to try and do more around the legacy stuff, helping sort of locally here with I'm the chairman now of the West Haldane Construction Forum, and that's a lot around getting eyes and ears onto the industry, getting people into work placements like school leavers and getting them interested in the trades. Same with the podcast. Big focus on this is, I think from even this episode today, like business owners are going to probably be able to watch it or listen and go, I thought business was tough, but look at the circumstances that Peter's came through. So that's great on that side for the business owners, but also that there is people out there that will give you a chance, guys like Andrew, guys like yourself. So any school leavers listening, watching this, should be able to take a bit of hope to just keep trying, just keep putting the CVs out. If they want a trade, just keep trying. Like someone will take a chance on you.
And I think employers need to more employers need to step up. Because, you know, we get the apprentices, and and I know for a fact that sometimes their parents are putting the email out.
Yeah.
But it's no very often that we get that coming through. But actually probably, well, there was one that came through just the other week there. A lad sent an email, bit of a CV and all the rest of it. And I knew it was his mum that had sent it. You can kind of tell, and it all looked great. And I phoned them up and they sounded great. And I says, you know what? I says, come and have a couple of shifts for us, see how you get on. And he came in and he was fine and he gelled well with the team. And he was really quite passionate. Brilliant. And we've started him as an apprentice.
Yeah, good.
And it was just given that chance. I mean, he's not going to come in with a big CV. I've done that. You know what I mean? You've just got to give that. And you can usually tell by how they've went about the process. You know, they're obviously, their parents are invested in them as well, which is a big thing.
Because they'll kick them up the backside. Get to your work, I got you that job. Or I helped you get that job.
Because this young lad, he'd actually put himself into college to do like the multi-trade and the pre-apprenticeship. So he already had that. He knew he was wanting to be a joiner.
That's good.
So
it's half the battle.
It's half the battle, yeah. And when I see that, I'm like, right, so he's committed. Yeah. Well, potentially. You don't know until the start.
Well, he's done enough to not be put off yet.
Exactly. So I was like, you know
experience he's had.
Let's give this boy a chance. I'm really open to, like, I don't know, I'm maybe just a softie when it comes to things like this as well.
I think when I look at how I got into the trade, like, I basically went to the job centre. So my dad was self-employed. He actually at one point had probably about 15 men or something. So I think it was similar to the model we spoke about. It was like the CIS guys, you know. So he had the CIS kind of group, and they poured the concrete floors and finished them and put the steel in and did the shutters and all the different stuff. And I just kind of always thought, I'll probably just go and do that with him. I'll get hands-on, my dad's a grafter, he seems to earn decent money, that's what I'll do. And then when it was getting to the school leaving time, he was sort of like, no, you want to go and get like an actual trade. And what he meant by that was like a roofing apprenticeship or a joinery apprenticeship or a plumbing apprenticeship or whatever. And I was like, right, okay. But I was thinking, okay, that's fine. And I basically went to the job centre and I got, they were really helpful actually. They gave me a list of like all the construction companies in West Lothian. And it had like the name, it had like the company name, the email, the website, like all the stuff. And I basically just like went down the list, contacted everyone, I think they helped me build a CV, sent all the CVs out to like almost every company in West Lothian. So if any of you didn't answer, you're lost.
Exactly.
But to be honest, none of them answered other than two.
Yep.
A bricklaying guy and the roofing business owner that I got the apprenticeship with. And it was better money on the bricklaying, but it wasn't going to be a trade. It was just like, look, come out, you'll labour to me, you'll learn it. I'll give you like, it was like 250 quid a week or something at the time, which was a lot of money. Like that was 2006. So it was a lot of money. And the other one was like, just say it was 120 quid a week or something, but that was so this was the roofing one. And what he said, if you come in and you do well this year, I'll put you to college next year. So he basically wanted me to, this was like maybe the April or something. I'd just turned 16 in April, was just leaving school. It said, I want you to get through the winter. I want you to show that you're a grafter. I want you to prove yourself to the guys that you can fit in with the team and all that sort of stuff. And I just went, brilliant. Somebody's giving me a chance. I'm taking it.
Yep.
And this was the Sunday night. I spoke to him on the phone. He was like, just start tomorrow. So I got picked up on the Monday. And from there, I just never looked back. And the guys would say, I want to take Jamie today. And when like I'd be working with certain tradesmen and I'd be doing my utmost to keep their van tidy and keep stuff like always be ahead of them, one step ahead of them. What do you need next? And just running about doing everything. And I'm not saying like I never, like I didn't seem to get, do you know when you were talking about like that bad treatment that sometimes labourers maybe get, and you know you get sent for the long stand and the tartan paint and all that stuff. I never got a lot of that, I think, because I wasn't really cheeky. And I actually was like, I'm here to serve you. And I think they could see that, and I think I got a wee bit more leeway because I actually applied myself in such a way that I think they wanted, and their day was made easier. I'm not saying I was perfect, because I wasn't, and I didn't get it right all the time, and sometimes I actually felt like an idiot when I was like, I don't know this, and he showed me like 5 times and I'm like, I'm never going to be a roofer. Do you know, there was all of that doubt, but basically though, it was just that chance was given. Sunday night, I started Sunday morning, proved myself, did my bit for that year, and he went, send you to college, no problem. You've done great, brilliant. And then the company hit hard times a couple of different occasions. So we'd maybe go in on a Friday and people would be getting paid off and things. And I survived all of them waves of attacks, like just that, right, half a dozen people paid off, 10 people paid off. Like every time I just went through because I just kept trying to prove myself. So it just shows you if somebody, on one hand, there will be someone who'll give you the chance. On the other hand, make sure you take the chance. You've got to be in there to take the chance. You can't put it on to, oh, well, my mum got me the job, I'm not that bothered. It's like, no, once you get the chance, just get in there and make sure that you live up to it. And that's where I'm the same as you. Like, there's people like, so I was from Armadale, I live in Bathgate now, but in Armadale, like some young local lads for Armadale that we've employed, they just come to us, no really got a CV, no really got any experience, left school, and I'm like, what's stopping them being the future Jamie Taylor? They just need one chance.
They just need one chance.
We give them the chance, but if they don't take it, then it's on them. We like to see a bit kind of coming back as well, and just them showing that they're willing to do it for themselves and for the company, but for themselves really. And if they take the chance, those guys will always do well.
They will do well, and it's about that. You know, it's about their attitude as well. Yeah. You know, as you were saying, you obviously had the drive and passion to do, because you wanted to do it, you wanted to better yourself, or these things, and that's what's and it's kind of difficult. You know, you've got this whole snowflake thing and all that, and I don't buy it. There's a bit of that. You do get a bit of that, but I think in general there's a lot of really, really good young people out there.
Absolutely.
Hard working young people that want to drive and succeed.
It's not totally gone. Do you know, a lot of people are saying, oh, it's gone, they're stuck on their phones, which some of them are, but there is still... There's just going to be all different types of people in all different age ranges and different generations that all of that stuff's going to... Some people are going to be lazy, but some are actually still going to be grafters and be able to make their way forward in construction. It's just no tarring everybody with the same brush. Not. And when... I think we spoke about this, but no taking things personally. So like if you bring somebody on, like we had a great young lad that was with us, 5 year service award, finalist at Apprentice of the Year, all of that stuff. He's went and he's left and he's went on to do something else, and it's like, well, I can't take that personally. It was a two-way street. He worked there for 5 years. He done his hours. He done what he had to do. We feel like we gave loads back, but there's no reason that needs to be, oh, well, I'll never do that again.
No, it's
like I'm looking for the next guy that's going to be there for 5 years. And if he goes out and does his own thing, then that's what Jamie Taylor done. So who am I to tell anybody they can't go and do their own thing?
It is different. And we've been through the exact same situation as well, or more than once. And the first few times at AMS, you do take it personally because you're like, you know, we've given them a chance. Well, it's cost. Okay, they've done their work and their job and all the rest of it, but ultimately, at apprentice stage, it is costing. I know you get funding in that, but it doesn't cover the cost.
And I think a lot of people think it does. I think people think, oh, you took on an apprentice and you got a grant. It's like that never covered the time that it took to actually, when they were missing at college or when they were training or when they had to like pair them up with someone who had to teach them and all of that stuff, do you know, and it slows down maybe the tradesman because he's got to then teach the person. So there's a lot to consider, but I think from an employer's point of view, that's where, as in a construction industry, that's what we probably need to continue to do better is if somebody leaves you, and you think you've put all that time and effort and it's like, we'll just focus on the next one now.
Like,
then you get stuck on...
I know, but it can be hard, but the more it happens, the easier it gets.
It's difficult. We're not going to lie, that it's no difficult.
Because certainly for the business that I'm building now, the apprentices are key to that. And the reason we bring the apprentices through, one, obviously to give them a chance and to help the construction industry as a whole, but the other reason is to build sustainability in our business.
Longevity.
So we can bring these guys on and we can mould them into the way we want them to operate and train them and have career progression paths for them. So they can go from, like, they can go as high as they want in the company. You know, there's no
barrier.
There 100% isn't. I'm not going to be managing director of the company forever. If the company continues, someone's got to take that. Why can't it be one of them? You know, it could.
That's it.
You know what I mean? So there's no.
And just try to create that pathway so that it's visible to them as well. And they think, if I come in at this stage, maybe I can get there.
You can get there, aye. But it depends on the individual, because then some don't want that, and some it's too getting that kind of told to you at that young age is maybe a bit too overwhelming as well.
Like when you became a director through default and didn't, like when Andrew said you're a director, and probably at that point you're thinking, what does this really mean right now? But it's interesting. And before we finish up, mate, what's I know that you've been doing quite a bit on social media and stuff like that, putting yourself out there a wee bit more in things and your own podcasts and all of that. Now, what's driving that?
I think really what's driving that is to stand out from our competitors.
And you've won a few awards and stuff as well, and I've seen that on your socials.
So just the most recent ones, we won Building Company of the Year for Scotland at the Federation of Master Builders.
It's a huge achievement.
Which is massive, and that's actually two years in a row we've won that, which is even just mind-blowing, I'll be honest with you. In fact, when they called it out at the ceremony, I burst into tears, like, because it was so,
It's probably relief for all that hard work from that, like, just from that devastating news in 2020, to get it to there, to actually be doing that. I'm very sure, feeling a wee bit emotional there, but I'm very sure Andrew will be proud, so you should be proud of yourself, to be honest. Definitely. It's been a huge, and not just by me, but from the rest of the people in the team as well. Absolutely.
And I think I've always got Andrew's family in my mind as well. And you know, we've been doing a lot on social and a lot on marketing, and they are starting. See, I always wanted to keep the Haldane name. That was to keep that legacy, and they'll be seeing that out there in the world now, and hopefully very proud of what Andrew started, and we're now continuing.
Oh, that's brilliant.
So awards, and also one of the apprentices picked up Apprentice of the Year for the Federation
Noah.
Master Builders. Noah, yes.
I met the young lad through it in Shannon when we were at an apprenticeship event. Nice young lad, and represents you guys well. So it's obviously, you're obviously doing the right things.
Yeah,
people winning awards, apprentices picking up awards. Aye, very good. Okay, mate. Well, we'll wrap up there. That was great. Thanks for that, mate.
Thank you very
Brilliant.
much.
Cheers, mate.
Thank you.